Picture this: a dusty old document, one that had been locked away in the deepest, darkest corners of government files, wrapped in secrecy for decades. A paper that, when finally revealed, ignited a firestorm of curiosity and intrigue. It's called the Gateway Process, and what it uncovers is nothing short of mind-bending. This isn't just some dry academic report. Oh no. It's a treasure map that blurs the lines between science and mysticism, reality and the unknown, the tangible and the intangible. What's hidden within those pages is an exploration of the human mind's capacity to break free from the everyday limits of perception, stepping into realms beyond the physical world we know. The Gateway Process dives deep into altered states of consciousness, where the mind expands to discover possibilities that stretch far beyond what we can see with our eyes or touch with our hands. This isn't some off-the-wall theory. It's the result of decades of research, gathering dust in secret files. It connects the genius of great minds like Einstein and the strange world of quantum physics with the wisdom of ancient spiritual practices from far-flung corners of the world. Can you imagine that? Science and mysticism shaking hands, crossing boundaries, and merging together in a dance of discovery. It's like someone finally found the key to the universe, and it was hidden in plain sight all along. Now, within this document, there are techniques that promise to unlock the deepest recesses of human potential. Think out-of-body experiences, OBEs, where your very sense of self floats free from your physical body. It sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But for those who've experienced it, it's all too real. And the Gateway Process doesn't just stop there. It offers a systematic, almost clinical approach to accessing these other dimensions. It's like a scientific roadmap to expanding consciousness. No crystal balls, no incense smoke, just pure, unfiltered exploration. As the mind pushes past the barriers of ordinary perception, it opens up to realities that are hidden in plain view, waiting for us to reach out and touch them. Suddenly, time, space, and even your very sense of self are no longer confined to the physical. You're free to explore, to discover, to exist beyond the body and its limitations. It's like peeling back the curtain to reveal a whole new world that's always been there, just out of sight. So, what's out there? What happens when the mind is freed from the chains of the physical world, no longer bound by time and space? The Gateway Process gives us the tools to go there, to explore the vast, uncharted territory of the mind and consciousness. It's a journey into the unknown, where science and spirituality collide, revealing how much more there is to this world, and to ourselves, than we ever imagined. Let's talk about one of the most mind-blowing experiences, the out-of-body experience, or OBE. This isn't just a bizarre one-off thing you read about in a book. It's a real, tangible experience that many people have had. Imagine feeling your body lying still, but you're somewhere else, floating above it, watching as if you were an observer in your own life. It's a moment where the lines between physical and non-physical blur, and the mind takes the lead. Some call it mystical, others call it paranormal, but the Gateway Process doesn't look at it that way. It sees OBEs as a vital tool in the expansion of consciousness, something that can be systematically accessed and practiced. And the beauty of this process? It's not some vague, mystical ritual. It's rooted in science, grounded in techniques that prepare the mind and body to reach these altered states. One key method? Hemispheric synchronization, or hemisync. It's this super cool technology that uses binaural beats to synchronize the brain's hemispheres, putting you into a deep, relaxed state where your mind can break free from the body. It's like your brain is getting a tune-up, aligning itself to the right frequency so it can let go of physical restrictions and venture into new dimensions. As the brain waves hit that sweet spot, the mind starts to float free, untethered from the body. It's a sensation that can only be described as otherworldly, like you're no longer confined to the flesh and bone of your physical self. It's a process that lets you go beyond the mundane and dive deep into the mysteries of existence. The out-of-body experiences are out there, waiting for us to experience them. But let's be real. A lot of folks hit a brick wall when trying to make it happen. One of the big roadblocks? Fear. The idea of leaving your body can freak people out. It's like trying to let go of control over the one thing you've always known, your physical self. For others, the struggle is more about just relaxing enough to slip into that deep state of consciousness, which can be super frustrating. But here's the thing. There's a technique called hemisync, and it's like a mental chiropractor for the mind. Not only does it help you get your brain ready for an out-of-body experience, but it also helps you tackle those fears and mental blocks head-on. Picture it like training wheels for your mind. You get used to the idea of floating free, little by little, and the anxiety starts to melt away. Instead of fighting it, you get into the flow, like the mind is gently sliding out of the body. No rush, no panic. Now, let's talk about another challenge. Coming back to your body after the experience. It's kind of like being stuck between two worlds, and it's easy to get disoriented. When your consciousness is no longer tethered to the physical world, you feel a bit like a wanderer trying to find your way home. It's confusing to say the least. But don't worry, the gateway process has tricks for easing that transition. It's like using a rope to pull yourself back from the edge of a cliff. Anchoring your consciousness to physical objects or familiar points of reference helps guide you back, making the return much smoother and less jarring. With enough practice, you can come and go from these realms without feeling like you're in a mental freefall. And once you get the hang of it, you start to realize just how powerful this whole experience is. Your consciousness isn't just stuck in the body anymore. It's like unlocking a door to unknown dimensions, where you can tap into memories buried deep in your unconscious, communicate with beings from other planes, or explore new ways of interacting with your surroundings. It's like suddenly realizing you've been playing in the shallow end of the pool, and now you're diving into the deep. As you keep practicing, something shifts inside of you. You start noticing how everything is connected, how the energy of one thing flows into another, and how you fit into that whole big picture. It's like you wake up to a world where everything is interconnected, and you're not just some random speck in it. You're part of something much bigger than yourself, a piece of the puzzle that fits just right. But here's the thing. This isn't some random coincidence. There's a reason why the mind is able to venture into these realms. And it all comes down to a pretty cool natural process: REM sleep. Most of us probably don't give it much thought, but REM sleep is like the VIP pass to higher levels of consciousness. It's that deep sleep phase where your eyes move fast, your brain kicks into high gear, and your muscles temporarily freeze up. That muscle paralysis? It's actually the key to the whole thing. With your body on pause, your mind gets a chance to break free from physical limitations. You're no longer stuck in the constraints of the material world, and that's when the real magic happens. When you're in REM, it's like the mind gets to play in the sandbox of the unconscious, pulling out deeper thoughts and memories. You start exploring areas you didn't even know existed. It's as if your mind has been freed from the chains of physical reality and is now free to roam across dimensions, experiencing realities that are totally untethered from the rules of the physical world. And that's where the out-of-body experience really comes into play, floating, drifting, and exploring worlds that don't follow the same rules you're used to. It's a journey that takes you beyond what you thought was possible, opening your eyes to the vastness of existence. All right, let's dive into the magic that makes all this work: synchronizing brainwaves and unlocking the power of the mind. So, here's the deal. The gateway process has a few tricks up its sleeve that make this transition smoother, almost like a secret map guiding you through uncharted territory. We're talking about using binaural beats and specific frequency stimuli, stuff like the sounds you hear in hemisync recordings. These aren't just random noises. They're designed to coax your brain into a state that feels a lot like REM sleep, even when you're wide awake. Sounds pretty wild, right? But here's the thing. These techniques aren't just about tricking your brain into thinking it's napping. No, No, they're about teaching your brain to glide between different states of consciousness like a pro, making that out-of-body experience, OBE, more accessible and controllable. It's like giving your mind a key to a secret door you didn't even know was there. With enough practice, your mind starts to get better at letting go of your physical body in a smooth, controlled way, without that gut-clenching fear or confusion that can hit you when things get too intense. What's amazing is that, with repetition, these techniques start to feel like second nature. The more you use them, the clearer and more controlled your projection becomes. And, it's not just about leaving your body and zipping around. As you get better at it, you also start to peel back the layers of yourself and the universe. It's like the mind gets to stretch its legs, free from the body's limitations, and explore different dimensions. You gain insights and knowledge that were hidden just out of reach. And here's the kicker. Even when your mind is in these altered states, it's still influenced by your personal baggage. Yeah, beliefs, emotions, and all that mental clutter we carry around. So, while the mind has the ability to access other dimensions, it's still wearing its own pair of glasses that might distort the view. Imagine trying to see through a foggy window. It's like that. You're trying to collect information from different layers of reality, but it gets all mixed up with your own memories, feelings, and even the energy of other beings hanging around. Not exactly crystal clear, is it? One common issue? Let's say you're trying to dig into past events. You might think you're uncovering some hidden treasure, but instead, you end up with fragments of energy or distorted memories. The pieces don't fit, and the puzzle stays incomplete. Another wild thing that happens: time and space go a little haywire. Perception can turn nonlinear, and the rules of physics seem to bend, making it harder to get accurate information. Your mind might even get distracted by other entities or stray thoughts, creating interference like static on the radio. So, yeah, there's a bit of a mess sometimes. But the beauty of the gateway process is that it doesn't leave you hanging. There are practices to clean up that distortion. Techniques like brainwave synchronization and focusing the mind with laser precision on the task at hand can clear the air, sharpening your perception during your out-of-body adventures. Over time, as you fine-tune these skills, the information you gather gets clearer, more accurate, and easier to control. It's like learning to tune a radio to the perfect station, where everything comes through loud and clear. You start picking up on the signals that matter most. All right, let's dive into something pretty mind-blowing. All this stuff we're learning from that declassified CIA document? Well, it's like a mirror reflecting the ancient teachings from all over the world, like Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. It's almost like they've been trying to tell us the same thing for centuries. These spiritual traditions have always hinted that reality isn't some rigid, set-in-stone thing. Nah, it's fluid, interconnected, and layered like an onion, always changing, always moving. Take Hinduism, for example. It talks about Brahman, the ultimate, unchanging reality that's everywhere, in everything. It's like the invisible thread that ties the whole universe together. Buddhism, on the other hand, has this concept of emptiness, which is a little mind-bending. It suggests that nothing is really separate or permanent. Everything is connected, and everything's always in flux. You might think it's a little far-fetched, but guess what? Quantum physics, which we've only started to understand in recent decades, is starting to back up these ancient teachings. According to quantum theory, physical reality isn't solid like we thought. It's more like a symphony of energy, all vibrating and buzzing in tune with each other. Here's where it gets even wilder. These traditions have been saying that reality is kinda like a hologram. Think of it like this. Every little piece reflects the whole, like a drop of water reflecting the entire ocean. Buddhism tells us that everything is connected, from the tiniest bug to the vast expanse of the universe, all reflecting a deeper truth. And Hinduism, in its own way, says that all life forms are tied together by a universal consciousness, a projection of Brahman itself. Sounds pretty trippy, right? But quantum physics is saying something remarkably similar. It's all about interconnectedness. Everything is part of a single, indivisible whole, buzzing in sync like notes in a cosmic song. Now, quantum physics talks about something called non-locality, which is kind of like the universe being a giant invisible web where everything is linked. No matter where you are in space or time, everything is still connected. That's almost exactly how these spiritual traditions have been describing the world for centuries. Reality isn't just this physical thing we see around us. It's a manifestation of energy and information. The idea that the universe is more than just atoms and molecules is right there in both ancient teachings and modern science. And then, there's the idea of individual consciousness versus collective consciousness. Buddhism says that if we can let go of our ego, we can tap into a universal consciousness that connects all beings. Christianity has a similar idea with the body of Christ. Everyone is united by a divine force. And quantum physics? It digs into the idea that particles can be connected beyond space and time. So, what if our individual consciousnesses are linked to something bigger, something universal? Science and spirituality are starting to overlap in some pretty wild ways here. Now, there's this scientist, David Bohm, and another, Rupert Sheldrake, who have both hinted that our consciousness could be part of some giant cosmic field, a field of energy and information that connects everything. Think of it like the Force in the Star Wars, or the energy in Tai Chi and Prana. It's the universal energy that ties us all together, a field of consciousness that we're all swimming in, whether we realize it or not. So, here's the big takeaway. Whether you're looking at it from a scientific or spiritual angle, both paths are pointing to the same conclusion. Consciousness isn't trapped in our bodies. Nope. It's capable of reaching far beyond what we can physically see and touch. The journey to expand our minds and understand reality better isn't just about looking outward. It's about tapping into that universal consciousness that connects all of us. And it's closer than we think. All right, so now we're diving into the next big step. How do we actually take all this mind-blowing knowledge and use it to unlock those higher states of consciousness? Well, here's where things get interesting. The first thing we need to do is sync up those brainwaves. Yep, you heard me right. Our brain has different frequencies, and each one is like a different level on a video game, unlocking new ways of thinking and perceiving. To reach those elevated states, we need to get both sides of our brain to play, nice and sync up. How do we do that? Enter brainwave synchronization, also known as hemispheric synchronization. It's like getting both sides of the brain to tune into the same station, like two radio waves locking in to give you the perfect signal. We can do this using binaural beats, those sounds that help harmonize the brainwaves and get you in the zone. Once that's achieved, you're ready for the next step. Deep relaxation. It's like hitting the reset button for your mind and body. See, relaxation isn't just about lying down and zoning out. It's about completely tuning out the noise, both physically and mentally. You want your mind to drift away from this everyday chatter so you can tune into the transcendent stuff. Breathing techniques, visualization, meditation. These all help calm the mind, making space for the higher experience to take root. As you sink deeper into this calm, something magical happens. The physical boundaries that keep your consciousness tied to your body start to melt away. That's when you open the door to exploring beyond your physical self. Then, it's time to step into the world of auto-hypnotic suggestions. Sounds fancy, right? But really, it's just the art of planting the right seeds in your mind to go even deeper. By using affirmations and guided imagery, you guide your mind to let go, trust the process, and push past the normal limits of thought. It's all about unlocking clarity, getting more control over your consciousness, and creating a clearer path to explore these altered states. As you keep practicing, you start to gain the ability to navigate some of the weird mind tricks that can happen when you leave your body. You see, when consciousness expands, the lines between what's real and what's just your mind playing games can get blurry. But with practice, you can learn to tell the difference. You can stay calm, centered, and focused, even when the world around you starts shifting and warping. And that's when the real fun begins. Now, as you get better at working with this expanded consciousness, you start to explore new realms of existence. It's like stepping into a whole new dimension of reality, where you can access information that's normally off limits to your everyday mind. It's not just about seeing the world differently. It's about understanding your place in the grand scheme of things. And over time, you'll be able to travel through these different planes of existence, pulling back the curtain on the mysteries of life and gaining a deeper understanding of the universe. But here's the kicker. This whole process isn't just about expanding your perception of reality. It's about reconnecting with your true self, the essence that's been there all along, waiting for you to remember it. The journey becomes a process of personal transformation, where you shed the layers of conditioning and get back to your core. It's not just about understanding the universe, but about understanding you, your place in it all. So, if this video hit home for you, I invite you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share it with anyone else who might be ready to dive into this journey, and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Share your own experiences. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next stone. Take care, and remember, keep expanding.